Okay, thanks, and good morning to you. It's great to be here. I think it's been said already by previous speakers. This is really a great event, and it's becoming more and more relevant, I think, for the rest of the industry as well, not only our industry, the networks industry. And I think that's a good reason for me to be here and share with you our 5 key industry trends for 2018. We publish them every year, so this is what we are bringing forward this year. And the input really comes from engagement with our partners, customers, thought leaders in the industry. And they could come from retail, they could come from logistics, transportation, manufacturing, health, and of course from our customers, service providers. And in going through this, I think it's good to put ourselves a few years into the future, perhaps 3, 4, 5 years in some cases. So a 2023 perspective in terms of full implementation of some of these key industry trends. And the first one, starting from number 5, counting down to 1, is, I think you've heard it from previous speakers, there is a good reason why enterprise leaders, they come to us, they come to service providers to engage when 5G is now about to be launched. 5G being this network platform that we're rolling out in the early markets here in North America, now 2018, 2019, and in many other markets in 2019, 2020, and beyond. Depends a little bit on the maturity and spectrum and investments and so forth. But it's basically happening right now. And these industry leaders, they have understood the capabilities of the platform. You heard earlier about the latency, the capacity, the cost aspects. But they also know that they are up for this change in terms of how they support their business, their core business, and also how they can be part of a smartphone type wave when it comes to the latest technology. So 2023, we will have, only on the consumer side, we will have about 1 billion 5G subscriptions. Ramp up is going to be phenomenal, half of that roughly in China, so there's a big growth coming in Asia, Japan, Korea, but then it's very much about North America, of course, in the early days. And that means that we'll have early 5G devices by at least mid next year, and others coming online soon thereafter. There's another important driver here, which is really the cloud native piece. So 5G and the new radio on the access side, and the cloud native packet core is really key for this 5G evolution. Also coming around same time, in some cases starting with a non-cloud native or the classical packet gateways, but then soon moving into a cloud native implementation to live side by side with existing packet cores. The third angle to this is, of course, that we're supporting IoT. So that means the IoT accesses for low data rate for a really massive amount of devices. What's already available as category M and narrowband IoT being pushed out in billions. And the fact is, or the prediction is that already in these 5 years' time, 2023, we will have around 3.5 billion cellular connections on these mainstream technologies. And again, a big part of that, actually more than half of it, is in China as well. So that connection to the massive amount of devices using cellular IoT, and then in the longer term horizon, using 5G NR as the access for those IoT applications, that's really a phenomenal push that every industry leader is now trying to act on. Data rates, about 8 times as much data in 5 years' time. So that means capacity of these new networks is not only for the enterprise cases, it's not only for the IoT, it's of course also to sustain the video growth that we already see with smartphones and tablets and the like. So if this is perhaps the obvious trend to start with, it also starts with the foundation, also said by previous speakers. This is more than an access, this is more than a connectivity play, this is truly a platform for innovation. So you bring your applications onto this platform with low latency supported by edge compute or distributed cloud compute. But you also, of course, make sure that this becomes a cost play for handling the capacity growth. And there, the technology is with a high-frequency spectrum, the narrow beams, and what we're doing there is the key to bring down cost, to match at least this traffic growth by roughly 8 times. Beyond 2023, we see that we're going to go to terahertz radio. That's when we go even higher up in frequency. This is where we are really being even more precise when it comes to narrow beams and where we can reuse spectrum in an even more efficient way. But that would be more than 5 years out. The second trend on the list, starting from these enterprise needs, security is an obvious one. But it's more than putting security onto a device. It's more than putting your enterprise security team to make an IoT security solution. This is really an end-to-end story where you have to start with, in most cases, secure identities, hardware root of trust in every node along the chain. And then you need security assurance also across these domains. So it doesn't work to scale out from an on-premise enterprise security solution all the way to the devices. You have to start with an architecture that has security built in from day one. And I think this is something that we're all struggling with and battling with as we are looking at these new use cases. But it's clear to me that in this coming 5 years, the current way of building security as an afterthought in IoT is simply not good enough. And we have much of the toolbox to fix this, to remedy this, already coming out of standards today, already being part of chipsets. Not yet in wide deployment, but the tools are there. So it's going to be a big part of this new infrastructure, security assurance end-to-end. The third one, it borders to the IoT case that I talked about. And although we are very much connecting things in factories, we're making sure that you can actually get sensor data from every new or old robot or equipment that's out there. What industry leaders are starting to talk about is the connection between sites, the multi-site challenges, which have to be handled with orchestration across wide area networks, not only on the factory floor, and it covers, of course, other pieces of the value chain in terms of transportation, logistics, not only the things that happens on the shop floor. But it's also very much about making the automation journey understandable to humans to act upon, as it says here. And here we are really working with the local data collection, the edge compute, and the AI that is fueling that, and making the decisions fully transparent and explainable. Edge compute is a key part of this, and it's not about everything being on-premise. Much of this can more cost-efficiently be deployed close to sites, still within data, guided by data residency rules, but they are riding on a commercial infrastructure that has the scale of a wide area or even a global network. And that balance, I think we are now finding lots of good use cases for with partners like GE, Honeywell here in US, Intel and many others, as this becomes a very viable deployment strategy for new enterprise applications. Second then, or fourth in order, is more on the consumer side, but this is really also affecting enterprises' ways of thinking about IoT's next step. IoT being the things, Internet of Skills being augmenting human performance, learning new skills in a faster way. We have been fortunate to work with university partners, many startups in this field as well, as they see the 5 or maybe even lower milliseconds latency of an LTE system enables them to build completely new user interfaces, completely new applications on the network edge, but it also allows the more artistic, the more human aspect of this to flourish, which is really what we see in cases such as distant learning. It's about learning physical skills, learning to play piano with the help of haptic gloves, with the help of feedback from the system. These kind of more educational or human augmenting aspects, we term them the Internet of Skills. And this is not an Ericsson terminology. This is becoming more used. We work very close with University in London, King's College. Professor Misha Dollar, which some of you may be familiar with, is really pioneering the use of 5G, the use of low latency networks with edge compute for completely new applications. Although early days, in 5 years' time, I certainly expect that we'll start to see some of these being fully commercial. So which one is the fifth trend, or the first by number? I think in this crowd, in this audience, it wouldn't be a big surprise to reveal that it's really the realization of zero touch. And it starts very much with the automation journey that you've heard colleagues and other speakers talk about here. But if you take that to a next step, this is really about understanding intentions. This is really about interactions, explainable AI, but it's also very much being more open in terms of which information is actually acted upon and which parts do we still need humans to control. Here, I think every industry leader has the same vision. There is no question about that. We are in a good position as an industry to support other industries to take these steps. And one of the ways to look at this is by looking at our 5G platform. A platform where the access comes together with the edge compute or the distributed cloud and the automation pieces and the agility that comes with that. And this is truly something that we're now seeing the value of. I would say that the pieces, including the open APIs that's being worked on here in MEF, could very well be crucial in realizing this global ambition, certainly covering multi-access, certainly covering 5G. But I do think that we have some challenges left for us. And it's not so much about the APIs in the network platform. It's not so much about the interfaces between carriers, inter-carrier interfaces with Sonata and so forth. That's a very important part, but it's really about the external interfaces. And this is simply because any of these enterprise leaders that I meet with or that we interact with through all our 40+ industry collaborations around the world, they realize that this is not so easy to interface with this. This technical platform, this capability that you are exposing is not consumable in a modern way, nor is it fully adapted to a legacy enterprise way of doing integration. But that's a good thing, because I think the work that is now pioneered in the Cantata and the Allegro work, although more work is needed, actually to me shows a credible way whereby we, both programmatic as well as via portals, can interface with a very, very complex network platform. So I'd simply take this opportunity to say that we're fully supporting all the great work that has been done in MEF, taking it to completely new levels when it comes to the LSO work. But we do see that there is more to do, especially when it comes to interface between our network platform and the rest of the world. And if we can do that in an even more iterative way, trialing it out as we go along. I saw some great demos yesterday. I think we are on a good path to change the way that enterprises consume these kind of services, much beyond what has happened on the cloud side in terms of consuming both public and hybrid cloud. So very, very confident that we are on a good path, but I would also say significant work to be done there. So with that, 5 trends taking us at least 5 years into the future. And again, great event. So thanks, everyone.